users have made a purchase from a business that they found on the Yelp website or mobile app. Now, when you look at Yelp, one of the interesting statistics is that their mobile app traffic is increasing while their website traffic is decreasing. So one of the key things that you can do for your business is to make your website mobile friendly if you haven't already. It will help not only the transition from people who are checking out your reviews on Yelp and then visiting your website, especially if they're on their mobile phone, but it will also help you be found on Google. Google is prioritizing websites that have a mobile presence. So in the last couple of months, if you have seen your ranking or where you're appearing when you search for your business type on Google fall, it might be because you don't have a mobile website. We have lots of referrals from people who do that. The big question, do I have to? The short answer is yes. Reviews have a real, tangible impact on your business and business activities. And if you aren't there, your customers are going to move on to your competition. So it's a very worthwhile investment. That impact is that more people own a smartphone than a toothbrush.
So that's fair.
Right? So you want to make sure that they can find you. 90% of buyers trust peer recommendations. So it used to be that you could heavily invest in advertising avenues such as print or yellow pages, and you would be found and people would see, oh, they have the money to invest in advertising, so they must be a reputable, credible company. And to some extent that's still true, but the playing field is very different now. There's a lot more choices for not only your advertising dollars, but for consumers to make their decisions as well. So it's very, very important that you are able to be found online. So customers will review your business regardless of if you participate. So what does that mean? That means that anyone can create a Yelp listing. Anyone can contribute information about your business that may or may not be correct. So it's really important to get in front of it if you haven't already and claim your business listing and make sure that information that's there is an accurate reflection of your business. So that includes things like hours, phone numbers, address, the best way to contact you, as well as a summary about what it is that you do. And all of those things are completely free to update on Yelp. So if you haven't already, make sure you claim that business listing. Also, consumers tend to have strong opinions and when they're on Yelp. And you want to make sure that your business presence is the first thing someone sees when they go to Yelp versus a positive or negative review, that they have at least an overview of what it is that you do and what you're all about. So who uses Yelp? One of the #1 uses is tourists looking for travel recommendations, such as where to stay, what to do when they get there, where to eat, where to shop. And that's probably one of the #1 uses for Yelp. Also, locals in need of a service, and that's really a comprehensive statement. That means plumbers, it means obstetricians, dentists. I mean, really, if you're in the service industry, Yelp is a place you need to be. And then also, people looking to explore something new. Maybe they heard a rumor there's a new Mexican restaurant. One of the first places they're going to go is Yelp to see who it is, where they are, and what other consumers think about them. 4 out of 5 Yelp users are prepared to spend money at the time of their search. So if they're looking for restaurants in Mount Vernon, they are ready to jump in the car and go to your business potentially. So make sure that you are seen there. So who's a great fit for Yelp? Not every business is, although it's still important to claim that listing. You might get 0 reviews if you're not a great fit for the business model of Yelp. That's okay. You're still search engine friendly and you're more easily found on Google if you're claiming that. But Those of you who should expect more interaction on Yelp are shopping is our #1 category, restaurants, local services, including home services. Other is a general category that Yelp likes to lump things into. Beauty and fitness, arts and entertainment, the health industry, auto, nightlife, travel, and hotels. So, I'm talking a lot about claiming your listing. How can you do that? It's pretty simple. Just go to biz.yelp.com and it will help you search and see if your listing has already been claimed, in which case they do have a process where you can reclaim it back for your business if someone other than you has claimed it, which does happen. It's a little scary, yeah. You can try to provide as much information as possible. Fill out all of the profile, even if it's things like, what are your hours? If you're open 24/7, say that.
I always struggle with that one because at a bed and breakfast, I'm not really, I'm open when I have guests, but Yelp keeps trying to tell me your profile's incomplete because I won't put hours in there.
Yeah.
So what should I do?
So say you're open 24/7. It doesn't mean you'll get phone calls 24/7.
Okay.
And you can always, in the business description, too, say the best hours to call are between this time and this time to book the reservation, or book your reservation online and give your website address as well.
Okay, great, thanks.
And then make sure to upload photos. So one of the key things that Yelp users do is they will upload photos of their experience at your business. So some things are more photogenic than others, right? Anyone who's tried to photograph food knows that it looks terrible unless you are a professional food photographer. So make sure that you are really owning and branding that presence by including photos that you want to be seen first. So, and that, you can make your own photo shoot. It's really fun, get family and friends involved. But make sure that you upload those photos. These are the free tools for businesses on Yelp. They include business analytics, Yelp deals. All of these are completely free. Now, Yelp is a business itself, right? So they're always going to shuttle you into upgrade your listing, pay for advertising. All you have to do is contribute this much per month to increase your presence. That's certainly an option, but you don't have to do that. Just make sure that you're looking at the free side of the business and filling that out completely before you jump into paid advertising, because you really want that basis of how people interact with your business online before you start investing money into it. So this will give you a chance to track your demographics and see when people are visiting your Yelp reviews or making them. And that will give you key information later when you are making those marketing decisions, like, do I need to advertise on Yelp?
I gotta add something. They send me an email once a week showing me how many people looked at my Yelp page, how many people looked at directions.
Yeah, it's really, really useful information. And it can play into your overall marketing plan too. If you're seeing that most of the traffic is from out of area, you know that you really need to concentrate your dollars outside of Skagit County or reaching people who are visiting, right? If it's all people in a 5-mile radius, that's valuable information too. So, managing customer reviews. So I'm sure this is why most of you are here, right? You want to know, okay, is it worthwhile to be there? What do I do if I get a negative review? What do I do if I get a positive review? What's the best way to respond? So these are Yelp reviewers, right? They tend to be passionate. They might have had a negative experience through not necessarily any fault of your own, or they've had a really positive experience. But either way, they're going to let you know it. So this reflects that 56% of reviews are either 1 or 5 stars. So they either think it was the worst or they think it was the best, right? That's what's inspiring them to go to Yelp and talk about your business. And this little chart here shows you a breakdown. You can see 2 stars, not a lot. 4 and 5 stars are actually the majority of reviews. So we like to think of Yelp reviewers as complainers, but that's not necessarily true. Here you can see the majority of them are actually there to rave about your business. So the key is really encouraging those rave reviews. So who writes these things anyway? It used to be that your main source of feedback was people in person telling you what they liked or didn't like, or talking to your staff. You'd get a phone call later, or you'd get a lot of referrals, and that word of mouth advertising is still really key. It's part of what we encourage here at the Chamber, is a strong referral-based network. Now, if those fell off the face of the earth and all of a sudden last month you were getting 10 referrals, this month 0, you'd think to yourself, gee, what changed? What can I do better? Well, now your reviewers tend to be faceless. They don't have those one-on-one interactions with you quite as often. They're turning to the internet to either air their grievances or express how delighted they are with you. So this is a marketing model of the modern customer-oriented organization chart. So this is a then, where top management, middle management, and your frontline people brainstormed about what your product was, what your brand value proposition was, right? What are the key things? What are our core competencies that we really want to express to our customers? And then you would roll them out, right? Here we are, here's what we offer, ta-da. A little bit different now. It's much more consumer-driven, where your consumers are saying, you know, I really need you to be open until 9 o'clock at night because I don't get off work until 8, and I really like to visit your business, but it's not possible for me unless you're open such and such hours. Or I like that you offer this service, but I really would value and spend more if you offered that. So it's much more consumer-driven, and Yelp is a reflection of that, right? The whole concept of Yelp probably would not have existed about 10 years ago because we were pushing products out versus forming and changing them as we got consumer feedback. All right, reviews are more visible than ever. How many of you have a website? Great. So oftentimes Yelp reviews actually come up before your website. So again, really, really key place that you want to manage that presence. And the reason for that is Google and Yelp are best friends. Google ranks their page ranking very high, which if you're not familiar with PageRank, you can Google it. But it's on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being NewYorkTimes.com, Google itself. Your local media outlets would be closer to 5. Here at the Chamber, we're at 4. So it's an exponential difference between each number as to how much traffic you get online and how many outside businesses you're linking to, and then how valuable consumers are finding those links and how much time they're spending on your site. So we could give a whole other presentation about digital advertising, but essentially Yelp and Google are best friends. So that's the key component there. Reviews affect customer perception and their expectations. So if you have all 5-star reviews on Yelp and everyone's raving about your bread pudding, people are going to go in, they're going to order the bread pudding, and their expectations are going to be up here, right? So it's really important to review what are the reviews saying about my business. How can I capitalize on that? How can I make a big deal of it? Or what are other things that I want people to be reviewing that I can encourage them to do so? And again, it just plays into that perceived customer value of what your business is, what you offer, and what you're all about. So you can see here, a quick Google search for restaurants in Mount Vernon offers us kind of a snapshot as to what your consumers are seeing. TripAdvisor is the #1 makes sense, lots of reviews there as well. El Granillo, interestingly, is number 2. They're doing something with search engine optimization. And then our Yelp reviews are number 3. So this takes a look at kind of marketing concepts. It used to be that our funnel, our marketing funnel, right? Someone became aware of your business, they expressed interest or desire, which might be motivated by any marketing that you're doing. And then they took an action. They bought your product, or they visited your restaurant, or whatever it may be. And that was the end of the funnel. Ta-da, you had them, right? So now, what that interaction looks like is a little bit different, where the post-purchase experience is really playing a key role in your business development and your marketing strategy. Because those consumers don't just complete the action and drop off a piece of the earth anymore. One, they have a broad network of people who they're going to recommend your business to by word of mouth, which is really important. But they're also going to make it public on review sites, on their Facebook page, what have you. So it's important to take into account that post-purchase experience. And then, of course, you want to get repeat business. So you want to encourage them to be in what we call a loyalty loop, where they're looping back into your business via touch points or visitations or purchases. So how can you encourage reviews? The first is to provide great customer service. Any business that does that, you're going to see a positive effect on your Yelp reviews. Because people also like to brag. As we saw in the 4 and 5 stars are the majority, they're going to also have good things to say about your business. Make sure your loyal customers become your brand ambassadors. So we have a program here at the Chamber, our Ambassador Committee. It's really key. Erica's part of it too, so she can tell you all about how great it is. But it's really key to us to have those people who are advocating for the Chamber, aka our business, right? Because their credibility is so much better than me telling you how great it is, right? I have a clear incentive to tell you how great it is. Erica, on the other hand, is motivated by the experiences she's had here at the Chamber. Yelp is the same exact way. People have a high credibility because they're motivated simply because they want to make a referral to your business. And then you can also encourage reviews via email follow-up. So if somebody comes in or you have a consumer interaction, make sure that you're getting their email address. That's really key for all of your marketing. 98% of the U.S. has an email account. My grandma thinks that the internet has channels. She has an email account. So really, really key to focus in on that email and encourage interaction that way. And then active links like your website and social media. So make sure that you're speaking to the people who are already interacting with you, who are already having those positive interactions. Make it really easy for them. Don't make them search for your Yelp listing. Have a big, nice big button. It's red or orange. It's really colorful, stands out on your website. And once you sign up for that business account with Yelp, you have access to all of their icons as well. So use them. Don't bribe customers with discounts. Yelp knows when you do it. They have a very sophisticated algorithm system, and it can get you banned from the site as well. So don't do that. Okay, so let's talk about those hidden reviews. So how would Yelp know I gave someone a discount, right? Why do they care? So 29% of reviews are not recommended, or they're removed from the site completely. And that's because Yelp filters reviews. It deems uncredible or unreliable. So how does it decide? Well, it's secret sauce. They won't really tell us. But we can see a couple trends that tend to lead to reviews being filtered or removed. So here are a few things. If someone who is reviewing your business has an incomplete profile, their review is less likely to be seen. If they have no profile picture, it's almost guaranteed that their review will not show up. Also, profiles created to make one review, right? So Yelp looks at that as, okay, there's some motivation going on. This isn't part of this consumer's normal interaction. They're not a social media person. They don't typically review a business. So there must be some unusual motivation here that's prompting this review, and therefore deeming it less credible.
Okay, I got a little confused then, because you're suggesting that we send the customer a link so that they can review. Well, a lot of my guests, that probably would be the first thing they ever review.
And as long as they fill out their profile completely, and they have a profile picture.
Oh, okay, so it's everything together.
It's everything together. It's a
Not
combination of
okay,
factors.
Okay.
Doing one of these things won't necessarily eliminate their review all by itself.
Okay.
But these are part of the secret sauce that we know.
Mm-hmm.
But great question. And then reviews written from within your store location. So that is Google's tracking IP addresses and pinging where your customers are located and where they're reviewing. So that can make it a little bit difficult for our hotels or our retirement communities as well, because they're less likely to be shown if they're from within that location. Because Yelp is thinking that what you're doing is saying, oh yeah, you liked your purchase? Here, can you review us on Yelp? No pressure, right? Here's the computer, go. Did you have a question, Mike?
Yeah, the next one, which is made from the same computer. I made the mistake once of letting Yelp was fairly new back then. I made a mistake of letting a customer do a review on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, this was a different business, of course, Yelp punished me. And they withheld all good reviews. I had something like 56 five-star reviews that they filtered out and would not put in unless I paid them money. So it was basically ransom.
Uh-huh.
And they've been sued many times for that. The problem is they have such a myriad of high-powered lawsuits. You will not win if you sue Yelp, even though they deserve it and what they're doing is wrong.
Yes, so depends on who you ask. If you were to Google Yelp's policies, and part of the reason they keep this their secret sauce is because if they listed it all out and the criteria didn't fit, they'd have to some explaining to do. So it used to be that it was very blatant. You would have to pay money in order for some of your good reviews to be seen. Now, in theory, they've reformed and it's all better now. And so, grain of salt, right? But this is the no-no list. If you stay away from this, you should be okay. So, yes.
If they're making like a review on their smartphone from your location, like a restaurant, does that show up as well?
That works a little bit differently,
Okay.
depending on your mobile carrier and where it's pinging off of. Here in Mount Vernon, most of our signals actually ping from Seattle.
Okay.
So the chances of that being a really big issue for you are somewhat slimmer. And it does recognize that it's a mobile device. Regardless, it's still not a great idea to have them review your business from their mobile phone within the location.
That's just interesting because when I use Yelp for like restaurants, I do it while I'm in the restaurant because I'm excited,
Mhm.
so. I didn't realize it was.
And it is a combination of factors, right? If you have reviewed 50 businesses that way, Yelp takes that into account and goes, oh, she's a regular reviewer, she's done restaurants before, it's more likely to be counted. So great questions though. And reviews made from the same computer. So part of the way it tracks that is where you're logged into. A lot of people create a Yelp account via their Facebook profile. And that has pros and cons. It's really easy for the user to do that, right? It's literally one big button that copies all the info from Facebook. It's not a swell idea because Facebook has a lot of information that you would probably consider private that it's sharing with Yelp. But if you are logged into your Facebook account and someone else reviews it on their Yelp account, it's still seeing that there's a question as to whether or not this is the same person. So it's more likely to discount that review. So just some factors to be aware of. Like I said, sometimes you'll see a review and it's great and it's under filtered and you have no idea why it's there. And they won't tell you either. Thankfully, that's not the majority. So here's the important part, right? Responding to reviews. It's really important to breathe in and breathe out when you're responding to reviews. Thankfully, 67% of them are positive. So let's talk about positive reviews first, because this is going to be the majority of them, right? So it's important to thank your customers for leaving a review. They took the time to log into their account, to review your business, to upload photos, and tell people how great you are. If that were a word of mouth referral, you'd thank them too, right? So it's really important to just provide that instant feedback of, hey, we're glad you had a great experience. Thanks so much for reviewing us on Yelp. And you can do that publicly, you can do it privately, whatever suits you best for your business type. And then repeat the highlights of their review. You know, if they're raving about your bread pudding, say, we're really glad you enjoyed the bread pudding. Just show that you're listening and it's not a form.
Oh.
And then we hope to see you again soon. Right? Because you want them to come back and engage in that loyalty.
Is there, I've never done it before. Is there a really obvious place where you can go and respond to a review?
You can, yes. Yeah, so you can do it via the Yelp platform. Actually, I've had, and that's perfect, that's great. I've actually had businesses get a little bit more success in responding off of the platform. So via email, for instance, or some of them have a text message program. It's just a little bit more personal. So that's, I would highly recommend it, but the platform's a great place to start too, because it is very, very simple.
I had a problem years ago with competition making false reviews, false negative reviews. So I actually hired a PR firm and they dealt directly with Yelp for me and they got all of those reviews removed. And they banned several people and companies from Yelp because of what they were doing against me. So the key is don't make enemies because they can try to make your life miserable.
For sure. And you can report a review on Yelp if it's really obvious to you that it's from your competitor, or the timelines don't match, for instance. Like I had one customer who sold baby furniture, right? And the reviews that I came in at, it even gave a time, like 7:30 in the morning, and no one was there to help me, and it was so awful. And they're like, we're not open at 7:30 in the morning. This cannot possibly be a real person. There were other distinguishing factors within the review. But they reported that to Yelp and it was taken down. So there are avenues that you can go down if you see something that's blatantly false. Okay, let's talk a little bit about negative reviews. So I would suggest you sleep on it. Yelp is going to tell you have to respond right then and now, but it's better to get a little bit of perspective, read it once, sleep on it, reread it, make sure that you're really hearing it and saying, okay, are there points of this that we do need to address in our business? We're hearing this from more than one person. How can we incorporate this into our service model? And it really depends on how bad is it. If it's 1 star and the person is irate and cannot be reasoned with, you're going to want to address your audience and not the individual. You've probably lost that customer, right? For whatever reason. It's probably not your fault. But in this case, you're responding to it because you want to address the other people who are looking at your Yelp reviews, not necessarily that particular person. If it's 2 to 3 stars and it's salvageable, address the individual first via a private message and see if there's something you can do to make good on it. You can also ask them to revise their review if you've had a positive interaction with that consumer. you know, there was X problem, you proposed Y, you solved it for them. It's okay to come back and say, would you consider, you know, Yelp is a really important part of our business, would you consider revising it?
My dentist did that to me.
Yeah.
I gave him a 2 and revised it to a 4 after he finally resolved the problem.
So it works, right? Because what they really want is a solution to their problem most of the time.
I want to add something to that. I was going to respond once, and I had it all ready, and I was going to push send, and Teresa goes, let me see that. And she's like, oh, no, you can't say that. And, you know, what started out was, you know, how dare you, blah, 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 and it turned into the way she wrote it. Oh, thank you for visiting us. I'm sorry, blah, blah. And, you know the old saying, you catch more flies with honey than... So she does all the writing now, not me. So point being, have someone review it before you push send.
Yeah, if you can have an unbiased party, look at it and go, okay, I think you need to do that breathe in, breathe out thing first before we hit send, right? Or if you have a manager who's exemplary with customer service, it's okay to assign your Yelp reviews to someone else. If you know, you as the owner don't have time, you don't want to, it's not your thing, it's okay to just assign these out. If the problem is unresolvable or the person is irate, then you want to address it publicly. But you still want to address it in a level-headed fashion, because you're showing the other reviewers, or the people who are perusing the reviews, deciding whether or not to visit your business, that you are responsive and that you are level-headed and that you are interested in addressing customer service issues. So here's an example that we pulled. So it's important to think of this as the person who is visiting your Yelp review site, right? So this one talks about, if I could give 0 stars, I would. The food was awful. My daughter had free spaghetti, which tasted like canned dog food. Blah 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 blah. Right? Not a happy customer by any means. So this is how the people perusing your review site are looking at it. So she starts her review by complaining about free food, which is interesting. She has exactly 2 friends on Yelp. So this is not someone who's like extremely well connected, right? So it's not like this notification is getting pushed out to hundreds and hundreds of people personally. It's just part of the scenery of your reviews. And if it was that bad, because down here she says that the service was good. If it was really that bad, wouldn't she speak to the waitress or waiter providing her with excellent service, right? If it tastes like dog food, wouldn't you say something? Wouldn't you send it back? So just keep in mind that, you know, people are reading these and they know that emotion levels are high when folks are writing these reviews, and that they are taking it with a grain of salt. Everyone gets a bad review, whether or not it's an off day or a customer who was determined to have a bad experience. Everyone knows that happens. So formulating your response. Do so in a timely manner. You know, 2 weeks is probably too much. 1 week's probably too much as well. Try to respond within a few days. Start with the positive. So acknowledge if they said something great, like for instance, the previous review said service was good. Say, I'm really glad that you had a good experience, you know, with our wait staff, and I'm sorry about X, Y, Z. Make a specific reference. So I've seen, as people are catching on, that responding to these reviews is a good idea, but their time is limited. I've seen a lot of form responses or templated responses on there. That's not a great idea. People want to feel like they're being listened to, regardless of if they had a good or a bad experience. So make sure that you're highlighting an important detail about their experience and addressing it directly. Apologize. They wouldn't be on there giving a bad review if they didn't feel strongly that they had been wronged in some way or that was a real problem. So apologizing, even if you feel like maybe it's a little bit them and not so much you, is a good idea. Otherwise, don't bother to respond. Include your contact info. you know, I'd like to resolve this for you. Here's my email address. If you don't want to post your phone number publicly, then that's fine. But just make sure that you give them some form to contact you with. And ask for a chance to make it right. So you do want them to engage in that loyalty loop, turning around a customer who had a bad experience into a customer who's an advocate is really a testament to your business. So that's an opportunity for you. Don't sound offensive. Don't write a novel. It's okay to keep it short and sweet. And hey, I heard you. Here's what we're doing to address it. Can we make it right? That's like 5 sentences. So you don't have to write a novel response. And then, like we talked about, don't have an automated or automated response. So remember, if you're doing it right, if you're paying attention to customer service, Yelp is a place where you can prosper and you can spread the word about what you're doing and why people should utilize you. So that's it on the presentation side, but I thought we'd leave lots of time for questions and answers because I'm sure you all have business-specific questions.
I do have one, I get that email once a week too and it usually says something like, we've had 1 review.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, of course, then I have Yelp calling me asking me if I want to pay for advertising, and I'm like, 1 person a week, forget it.
Yeah. So that's one of the ways that you can encourage reviews is to make it really easy for your customers. So I would encourage you to put the Yelp logo on your brochures and other promotional materials. Advertising with Yelp, depending on what type of business you are, if you're in that category where it's shopping, restaurants, I forget what the other one was, then it might be worthwhile for you. It does tend to be expensive. You're going to spend a minimum of like $350 on Yelp.
That's not worth it. I get much more traffic on Airbnb and TripAdvisor and Flipkey and Yelp.
Yeah, and I would, for the travel industry especially, TripAdvisor or programmatic buys, where they're optimizing your ads to your demographics and location, are going to be much more successful for you as a whole. Did that answer your question?
Well, I was wondering how I could increase the number that are reviewing it for free.
Yeah. Do you have an
when
example?
you did answer one, I need to finish my profile. I probably and with the hours and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that Yelp a little bit hard when I'm looking for a business. I find it kind of hard to manipulate. To really find something in my area.
Are you looking for the business name specifically, or
No,
are you
I'm
looking for
like some
categories?
categories, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't seem to fit in their categories so well.
And it might be your location a little bit, because it is all geolocation based, so it's going to take what's closest to you and list that first, and then it's going to go out in a circular radius.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, like people that are looking for me are like looking at the whole state of Washington or, like retreat centers across the country. They're not looking for a retreat center in Conway, Washington.
Specifically, yes, yeah. And yours is a little bit more specific, right? So they're not gonna, if you were to go into Yelp and search for retreat centers,
Yeah.
you're gonna get all kinds of weird results, right? But if you were to go on Google, which is where most people are conducting that search, and look for retreat centers, concentrating your efforts on being at the top there is gonna have a higher payoff for you.
But something you said did ring a bell for me, that a lot of times when I do searches, Yelp does come up somewhere in the top 5.
So you want to make sure that you do have positive reviews on that, right? So one of the ways you can do that is personal, right? Because you are the face of your business, especially with your business model. So saying, Yelp reviews are really important to us. Really appreciate it if you took the time to just tell a little bit about your experience. You don't even have to say anything about giving a positive review. Just like if you could share your experience.
And you can send them a link, right? So that all they have to do
You
is
can, yeah, absolutely. And that's another important component of having that icon on your website,
Oh.
is making sure that that URL links directly to your business.
Yeah.
So,
That's
no.
good info.
Mhm.
Last summer, my partner/husband, put on the Yelp website a special $2 off your first glass of wine if you review. And every review we got was positive, but then one person came on and was very adamant, I'm not reviewing this. I've got 2 weeks to review it, so she told me right from the beginning. She was the one negative experience there, who had all kinds of things to report, but she did end with how great the owner was. Is that considered, like you said, bribing, or,
Yes.
yeah.
Mm.
I'm surprised Yelp allowed that.
Yeah, usually, it might just be that the way you posted it wasn't as obvious or visible. But yes, technically that would be a no-no under their policy. I'm glad to hear you got a bunch of positive reviews.
Pretty well, they were happy.
So in your responses, I know it was saying, when there's a negative review, address the audience and not necessarily the person. Do you have any pointers on that? I mean, are we being specific in addressing the audience, how would you go about that? No, so that's gonna be your inner motivation, right?
Right.
Is that I'm really addressing anyone who's looking at this page, because at that point, that customer is probably gone, right? Right. So, but you wanna still make it personal and, make sure that you show you were listening, and then end on a can we make it right? And that's part of that component of where you might want to private message them first to see if there's a way to get them to revise their review, and if there's not, then do it publicly on the Yelp review site. People can at least see that, you care because you're reading the reviews, and that's a really key component of customer service, right? If somebody was in a store, for instance, and saying, hey, I really need help, and I'm having a terrible time finding this, and no one's helping me, you would not only respond to them to calm them down and fix their problem, but you'd respond to them for all the people in line behind them to hear you, right, having a positive customer interaction and solving a problem for them.
So private message first if you think that you might be able to switch, okay.
And then in a public setting, right?
Apologizing, addressing, being specific, and then apologizing and asking, okay.
Yes, exactly.
You said 100 million visitors, but do they have a background on who the demographics are? So when you're looking at our business, who are the people that are most likely to do the reviews on Yelp?
Yeah, so when you set up your Yelp profile, then it will start providing you that demographic information, because 100 million users is a lot, right?
Yeah,
Not
so
all
they
of
don't
them.
have any chart on Yelp?
I'm sure they do internally,
Yes.
but for
They
external
don't divulge,
use.
they do not divulge that. Okay.
Correct. If you were willing to advertise with them, they probably would.
It's all for sale.
Yes. But you can look at kind of your average internet user. Who are the people who are always on their smartphone? Because you'll see them walking into your business. I can't tell you how many restaurants I've
Walking
been
in
in.
your walls.
Yeah. And, people are on a date and they're doing this, right? So you kind of know who your reviewers might be and what they look like and where they're located. And also just looking at the demographics for your business as a whole, you want to make sure that your Yelp site is speaking to those people, right? So if you get primarily, say, women over the age of 35 who have kids in the household, right?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that your photos and your brand presence on there is tailored for them, because you want to be consistent with your branding. I've seen people do weird things on Yelp where they're like, oh, this is a totally new audience and it's all young 20-somethings on their cell phone, and that's not really necessarily true. Anyone can Google something and see your Yelp reviews, right? You don't have to go to Yelp.com in order to get there.
No.
So you just want to make sure that you're staying consistent with your branding.
And then secondly, because I know with Travel TripAdvisor and some of the others, are probably more, people use them more. But for Yelp, are there any other up-and-coming companies that might be their competition? Because sometimes you get blasted in a business, use Yelp, and then we have 5 other companies you can use as well.
Yeah, I would say Yelp is still king when it comes to general reviews. Once you start getting into your business category, for instance, shopping is still completely owned by Yelp
Yeah.
for the most part. Facebook also has a review component.
Yes, it
That's
does,
really
too.
key too, because Google and Facebook also love each other. And then, you know, you get into industry-specific things where
Yeah,
TripAdvisor
exactly.
is a more appropriate choice.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that, Google reviews too. Google
Yeah.
has their own review
Yeah,
system.
see, that's
so-
confusing to me, because Facebook has reviews, Google has reviews.
And Google will scrape reviews from all of those sites.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that for the dentist that I go to. I went back and he said, thank you for changing it to the 4, but do you know that Google also took your 2? And can you go change the Google one? And I haven't tried yet, but I guess that was just a heads up to say that just because somebody changed something in Yelp doesn't mean it's not still out there.
Right, and Google's process is delayed because they are scraping the information.
What does that mean?
So basically, any,
Harvest.
yeah,
But you can also
Harvesting.
directly input, like our company, right now is really big push on getting people to do Google reviews and not Yelp reviews. So
Oh.
they can log in with their Google account and review it just like you would on Yelp, but it's an actual Google review.
and it's undergone a couple of different forms. It's like Google Places, and now it's Google Plus.
Yeah, what's the scraping though thing?
So scraping is when a website's primary function or a business's primary function is to go around and collect information from multiple sources and
Oh.
aggregate it into one spot. So when Google is scraping things, it's going through the whole Yelp site and saying, okay, so-and-so's dentist, here's all the reviews from Yelp, we're gonna put them here. And
Oh,
here's all the reviews from Facebook, we're gonna put them here. And it's all in one spot.
I got you.
So they aren't creating any information, they're just gathering information, they're scraping it from other sites to create their own content.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could pull reviews onto Yelp and pull reviews onto Google from multiple sources? I mean, essentially, if you can get them to post it to, well, you can take from Facebook and put it on your website, and from Yelp and put it on your website, but you can't vice versa.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be great.
that's a business idea.
Come all
That's a
together.
business idea.
But definitely take your reviews, all of your positive and reviews from everywhere, and put them on your website.
Oh,
Exactly.
I do that with, TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
The reviews are on
Oh, yeah.
my homepage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because people really deem that information as really credible, right? We can always write about ourselves, but it doesn't sound as
Yeah.
genuine.
You know what's very interesting is if you try to do a review of Yelp on Yelp, they will not allow you to do that.
Yeah, right? They don't count, right? Yes, that is true.
I can review them on Google.
Yeah.
I don't know, I've never tried that.
Well, you can be our first experiment.
Well, I'm afraid to now because
Yeah.
I've seen how they retaliate against people and it makes me afraid.
There are many
You know,
lawsuits.
we were on Angie's List also, which doesn't seem to be too big here, but in Southern California, where we're from, Angie's List is big. And it's a paid membership, so the reviews are much more credible.
Yes.
And I had a woman call me, and I was a contractor, and she wanted me to go out on a Sunday. And I said, well, I don't work on Sundays, I can go Monday. And she became irate, and she says, well, on Angie's List, it says you're open 24 hours a day. And I go, well, I'm not open 24 hours a day, I don't know where they got that. And then she goes, if you don't come out on Sunday, I'm gonna give you a negative review on Angie's List.
Oh.
She was blackmailing me.
Charming.
And so Monday I called Angie's List and I said, why am I being listed as 24 hours a day open? And they go, well, we thought we'd do you a favor and list that for you.
Oh, thanks a lot.
So I demanded that they take it off. But, these are kind of some of the things that go on, You have to walk gingerly
Yes, you do, and it's a very thin line, and that's why people do take Yelp reviews with a grain of salt, especially if they're overly irate or overly negative. They go, something else is happening here, you know, this is not maybe an accurate reflection of the business. I'm glad you brought up Angie's List. Angie's List is a great service for home services and those reviews, that's really key, and I know we have a couple people in that industry. That's where you want to be. Yelp is good, Angie's List is great, and it's going to get you more qualified leads, so I would highly recommend it. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you so much for attending our class today.
Oh, that was great.
If you have any questions or you'd like to become a phone number, I have my card here.
I've seen it around.
Yeah,
Probably at the Biz Buzz.
yeah, my first one.
Yeah.
First one.
Mine too, it wasn't intimidating, was it?
Man, it was
I
your first one?
I
didn't know
was
that.
put on the spot a little bit,
Oh,
thank
wow.
goodness for the owner, he really helped me out.
You look like a pro though.